Gintama is one of my favorite series of all time. It's a series that is beloved by many in the anime community and glossed over and dismissed by others. It's a series that on the surface is a comedy, but it uses its comedy to mask the weight of reality thrust upon its characters. Each character in this story has come from hardship. These hardships shape who these characters are, thus allowing them to extend a kind hand, bestowing an iron will to people in need. We constantly see this. Gentoki spices up the life of Shinpachi and Kagura, showing them the same kindness Otose had shown him when he was at his lowest point. The same thing happens with the Shinsengumi. They've had their swords stripped from them and had nowhere to go until Kondo came along and changed that. For this reason, I firmly believe Gintama is the perfect shonen series, or as perfect as it can get. It balances comedy, seriousness, tension, and drama all so perfectly, and it never clashes. It never feels tonally inconsistent, a level of storytelling I've only seen two men pull off. These men are Hideki Sorachi, obviously the mangaka of Gintama, and Suda51 with his No More Heroes series. I'm sure there are more out there who have accomplished the same feat, but until I have experienced those series, I'm unable to mention anyone else. So these days I have been rewatching Gintama, getting reacquainted with the series in all its glory, and even now, 5 years later, it still holds up. Today I want to look at one episode in particular that captures the spirit of Gintama. This episode starts off in a typical Gintama fashion. The gang is in some zany situation. This time they're watching former pop star Otsu take on a new career path with boxing. However, they aren't alone in this endeavor. Sogo joins the group, and this is where our episode officially starts as he introduces Yorozhi'S to something far more sinister. We learn that Sogo has been investigating this for quite some time, surprising even Yorozhi'S. After all, he's never been portrayed as someone who'd get involved in something that he wasn't ordered to do. There's a catch though. He can't do anything about this illegal fighting ring due to it being an extension of the Tendoshu, who has government officials wrapped around their fingers. Sticking his nose in would involve the greater Shinsengumi, causing more than its fair share of troubles for his boss, Kondo, who the series established earlier as the person responsible for Okita even having a place to live. We're then introduced to the main character this episode will follow, Kidomaru, the Rengoken's #1 fighter. Okita requests that Yorozhi'S follow Kidomaru back to his lair after his fight, entrusting them with the task of handling this in his stead, as a request not from the Shinsengumi, but from him personally, even going as far as asking Gentoki to not tell Kondo or Hijikata about it. Reluctant as he may, Gentoki agrees to his request and follows Kidomaru back to his home, but everything isn't as it seems. Yorozhi'S is greeted not by a mansion swelling with riches, they're greeted to a rundown old temple inhabited by children. Gentoki is then taken off guard by a classic technique Naruto fans are all too familiar with, or Japanese teachers.
1,000 years of death!
The surprises keep piling on as the Rengoken's frightening Kidomaru was just a middle-aged man by the name of Doshin. Gentoki and Doshin have a beautiful exchange. Gentoki finds it hard to believe that a man who's considered a demon would be taking care of children when the curtains are closed. He reveals that all the children under his wing were abandoned. Gentoki is taken aback. The reality of someone who takes part in illegal fights, killing men every night, taking care of orphans by day. Doshin questions him. Do I look like a worthy human being? A saint covered in blood? Oshu Doshin, former manslayer on a path to be executed for all his dastardly deeds, given one more time to bask in the Edo sun. In exchange for his life, the Rengoken organizers freed him from prison so that he could fight for their enjoyment. Doshin has one goal: to protect his children, his treasure. Gentoki can't help but laugh. He says that Doshin looks more like a good father than a demon, revealing to Gentoki and the audience that his first child was a way to unburden himself of his sin. 1 turned to 2, 2 turned to 3, and eventually leads to this staggering amount he has now. Gentoki reminds him that raising kids for a reason such as that must be hard, causing Doshin to hang his head. He leaves his calling card with one of Doshin's sons, letting them know that they could call upon him anytime they're in trouble, and the rest of Yorozhi'S part ways with the man and his many children. The scene closes as the son called Yorozhi'S weird guests, remarking that our main characters were the first guests that they've ever had. Doshin agrees as he looks into the distance. Somberly, he responds, claiming that they're not only the first, but they're also the last. Elsewhere, Okita, feeling restless, decides to overextend himself by taking on some of the bad actors involved in the Rengokan. Little did he know, he had a visitor, none other than the demon vice chief himself, Hijikata Toshizo. The two Shinsengumi link up with Gentoki to discuss the matter over food. Hijikata really runs home that how dire the situation is. It'll be a heap of trouble not only for Gentoki, but the Shinsengumi themselves, if they continue to stick their noses in this affair. This is the Tendoshu after all, the people who not only are the cause of some of the series' problems, most of the series' problems, but also the only group that has real power over the country of Edo. We go back to the arena as the shadowy figure looking over the event questioned the absence of his star fighter, Kidomaru. It would appear that Yorozhi'S visit sparked a fire in him, as he's been constantly absent, coming up with different excuses to justify it. Growing tired of the constant excuses, a new fighter is selected to replace Kidomaru, but not without sacrifice. Gentoki instructs Kagura and Shinpachi to watch over the old temple. To their surprise, Dojin has decided to flee Edo with all his children. He asks if Shinpachi can overlook this. He doesn't want to kill anymore, just wants to become a man that can proudly call himself a father, regardless of how long it would take him. Unfortunately, Doshin doesn't get to live his life happily ever after to achieve this goal. He sheds a tear, reflecting on his newly found friendship, wishing that he could have met people like Yorozhi'S earlier in his life. Alas, he is assassinated by his replacement, one clean stab to the chest as he breathes his last breath, parting the audience and his children with one truly sad yet beautiful scene.
僕たち先生と一緒ならどこへでも行くけどね。
そうだな。私もお前たちと一緒ならどこへでも行くさ。けど先生、そんなに遠くには行けそうにないな。あ
れ、先生どうかしたの？ひょっとしてまた泣いてるの？なんかまた嬉しいことでもあったの？本当に先生は泣き虫なんだから。
そうだな。本当にそうだ。幸せ者だよ。私は。
Gives me chills every time I watch it. We cut back to Yorozhi'S as Sogo relays the tragic tale to Gentoki and co. No music is played, just the sound of rain, contrasting with Gentoki's carefree tone as his back is turned, clearly communicating to the audience that even he is upset by this, despite appearances. Kagura and Shinpachi feel remorseful, blaming themselves for what had happened, apologizing to Gentoki, but he assures them that they are not to blame, reminding them that Doshin was a killer, a manslayer. He was probably prepared to die this way. Okita also apologizes, ready to leave this by the wayside until Doshin's children make themselves known. They plead for Gentoki's help. They want him to avenge their father, letting the flowers grow from the seed he himself planted earlier by giving them his business card. However, they don't have money. In exchange, they offer their toys, calling it their treasure. Gentoki picks up one of these toys, a Dokiriman sticker. He remarks that he is a collector of such things and that he was missing this. Whether he's telling the truth or not, we don't know. Regardless, he uses this as an excuse to take up their request. But Okita and the remaining Yorozhi'S can't believe this turn of events. Even Hijikata, who enters the scene, can't believe Gentoki would do something so crazy, showing his concern for Gentoki, saying that even these people would be too tough for someone like him. And the exchange that follows was the backbone of this video. It was truly profound, impactful, and meaningful, and shows how strong Hideki Sorachi's character writing is. He constantly reminds the audience that despite Gintama being a comedy manga on the surface, it's not to be underestimated. Like a deep episode in a sitcom that reminds the audience that no matter what the material, it can always be used to send a message.
Great birthdays without him. He never even sent me a damn card. The hell with him!
Gentoki says to Hichikata, "Even if I don't go, I'll die anyway. I have an organ that's bigger than my heart. It's invisible, but it's all that holds me up. Because of it, I can stand up straight. I can walk straight, even when I'm bleeding and dizzy. If I run now, it'll tear in half. My soul will tear in half. I'd rather my heart stopped than lose what's most important to me. Even when I'm old and my spine is bent, my soul's got to be straight." What a beautiful speech that not only touches Shinpachi and Kagura to join him, but also Ukita, who criticizes him, saying that only someone crazy would do such a thing, before grabbing a toy out of the pile and following the group. Gentoki entered the ring, shocking everyone, thinking Kiyomaru had died. Gentoki, playing the part of a vengeful spirit, defeats the new champion in a battle that shows his strength, dexterity, and wits. This destroys his weapon, sending him flying. Even the organizer is surprised. The Shinsengumi stormed the place under the leadership of Hichikata and Okita and shut it down for good, regardless of the consequences they'd all face later. And our episode ends as both parties part ways. This truly displays what Gintama is all about. Under the silly exterior, a serious battle manga led by a truly well-written and amazing character that demonstrates why shonen manga is loved. A character on the same level as Kenshin Himura. In fact, Gintama shares a lot of common things with Kenshin, but that's simply due to the design of the series being samurai focused. But that's another topic for another time. If you enjoyed anything I had to say, leave a like, and let's discuss some of your favorite Gintama moments in the comments below. And if you liked this kind of content or anything similar, then subscribe. Let's get the channel to 2K. This will be the last time I talk about Gintama. This is Gentoki, this has been Beyond Animation, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.